וחמאס. אנחנו ברחבת הגלריה לאומנות בוונקובר, מאוד מאוד עמוס כאן היום, יש אירועים של המון קהילות שונות, גם של האיראנים, גם סינים וגם אנחנו.
Do you have it?
Thank you. Yeah, 3, 4, 5.
Right? I can't keep up with them. Everyone sort of came at once now.
No, thank you.
זה צריך להיות הסמל שלנו.
כן.
And then went to great time.
Where are you from? You come specially for this? Yes. How do you know? We have some. Can I get So you say, yeah, right now. I'll So can you please say your full name? And you are the chairman of the Sudanese Society in BC? So tell me why you are here today?
The wrong information to the young generations who go here, raise here, go in a legal peaceful life. And we have manipulated them with the wrong information. So are you encouraging Hamas to do this? Let them come out of the civilians and face the war, not hide behind civilians and put them at the same time, by prayer is for the Jewish community, especially the ones who understand So my prayer.
How big is the Sudanese community here in BC? What size?
Keep in mind.
Like
I don't know how to operate us. Not everybody is.
And are you talking? Do you talk to them as well? Like, what they feel about this?
Our community, I think, if I will tell you, shocked. Maybe I want to be fair enough. I may be the only one person on the Jewish side.
Really?
Yes. I'm sure
it's not easy to stand by yourself like this.
Yes. is the staff, if they know that I'm here, but I'm speaking the truth. I'm not here taking a side. I'm speaking what I know. And also, as the pastor of Sudanese Canadian Church in DC, I'm playing the worship roles. So, as a pastor, I just want to tell the truth too, from what I know.
Thank you very much. Thanks a lot.
I would like to acknowledge that we are gathered today on traditional ancestral and unceded territory of the Coast people, including the territories of Alpine, Scotia, and the Samoa Nations. Last night's rally marking 344 days in which 101 hostages have been held captive by Hamas terrorists. Hundreds of thousands gathered in Tel Aviv to support the families united under the cry, "These are our brothers and sisters. We will not give up until the last hostage returns home." The event featured powerful speeches from the family hostages. Among the speakers was Michal Lobanov, widow of Alex Lobanov, who was executed by Hamas 2 weeks ago when he was in captivity in a stirring moment. And also Anat Agnes, mother of Matan Agnes, revealed a recording of her son found recently in Gaza, marking the first sign of life from him since October 7th. Before the rally, dozens of friends, fellow IDF observers, and family members of hostage Naama Levi participated in a demonstration called Dressing Like Naama, wearing clothes identical to those Naama had in her shocking abduction video. And we've also done it here in Vancouver, which was back in November. Anat Agnes, mother of hostage soldier Matan Agnes, publicly shared an audio clip of her son's captivity for the first time. In the recording, Matan's voice can be heard directly appealing to Prime Minister for his release. The audio is part of a recently discovered video from the Gaza Strip, which the family had kept private until now. The footage represents the first sign. Michael Oblavnos is a bit of fun. Experts from Michal's speech, Alex, Eden, Ori, Almog, Hirsch, and Carmel did everything to survive. They endured conditions worse than we could imagine even in our darkest moments. They withstood mental and physical abuse. They survived hunger, thirst, oppression, darkness, heat, suffocation, dryness, and constant fear. They did everything to survive. We, the family, did everything to bring them back. So why didn't the state and its bring them home? We all saw the images and videos from the tunnels. We all gasped when we saw and understood the conditions in which they survived and where they were murdered. We took in air that they didn't have. It was possible to save them, to rescue them. True, it's not a heroic and a military rescue, but it's a different kind of bravery. They survived 20 meters underground. My Alex and all the other hostages will never breathe air again. Alex and I built a home. This is a life, a family, a future. We saw a wonderful future here for our children. First Tom was born when Alex was kidnapped. Kai wasn't born yet. When he came into the world looking just like a copy of his father, he was born into an unimaginable reality. For 11 months, Dad was far away. Now he will never return. Tom and Kyle are orphans. Papa will never pick Tom up from kindergarten again. Papa will never have Kai. What will Tom remember? The poster of Dad with a colorful apron saying kidnapped? The one hanging everywhere? Will he remember the time Dad took him up? Will he ever feel safe without a father to protect and guard him? Will my children ever feel secure in a country that didn't protect their father? I don't want you to look at me with pity, to gaze at me, shake your head in sadness. I ask and demand that you feed me and do everything so that the ending for other women in the hospital will be different. Return on high to Raz, return Sagi to Abakal, return Saki to Gali, return Ahad to Bathsheba, and recently Nifi, return Tal to Adi and David to Sharon. Give their young children the opportunity to grow with their father. Give their children the memories that my children no longer have. I yearn to see all hostages return home. Give them a good ending. Give us all as a country, as a people, a different ending. Sign a deal such an agreement to save those who simply say, give us air, give them air, bring them home now. I would like to call up our first speaker, Bernard Chinsky. He has been a lawyer for over 40 years. He's active in leadership roles in Vancouver and Canadian National Jewish Organization since 1981. He is the founder and chairman of the board of Ronald S. Rosenberg Foundation. Please. I have to compete with disco music, so I would ask you all to move in a little closer, please. And Dr. specifically asked me to speak about anti-Semitism and democracy on this International Day of Democracy. And I can tell you this is a heavy topic, and it's not going to be easy to follow the kind of music we're listening to, but I put a lot into this, so please do try to follow. So, anti-Semitism is a form of religious, racial, and ethnic prejudice against Jews. You all know that. But unlike other prejudices, anti-Semitism also operates as a conspiracy theory, which lies about Jewish power and influence. And because it functions as a conspiracy theory, anti-Semitism poses a threat far beyond the Jewish community. It fuels other forms of hate and extremism, including against other communities and against democratic institutions that are depicted as pawns of Jewish control. We don't have any control here. I'll give you that. Anti-Semitism, like other conspiracy theories, increases at times the social or political anxiety as people look for a source to blame for what's wrong with society and what their own lives. Enemies of democracy like Iran and Russia use anti-Semitism to undermine trust in democracy and make them seem like failed states. The conspiracy myth that Jews control certain sectors of society, such as banks, media, or elections, is the cornerstone of anti-Semitism, and anyone who accepts that myth loses faith in democracy. It just makes sense. If Jews control elections, judges, and finance, people say to themselves, how can I, as a non-Jew, ever live up to my potential? My failings are caused by evil forces which are beyond my control. So casting the Jews as all-powerful naturally fuels hatred of Jews. But it also explains what extremists believe, that other communities, like people of color, non-Christians, LGBTQ+, are incapable of success except through unfair, illegal, or nefarious means. And so, belief in this powerful Jewish control group causes distrust in democratic institutions and values. When neo-Nazis came to Charlottesville, Virginia in 2017, they chanted, "Jews will not replace us," showing that they believed in the Great Replacement conspiracy theory. Once hidden in the dark corners of the internet, this conspiracy theory says that there's a deliberate Jewish effort to replace the white population with immigrants and people of color. This conspiracy theory has directly inspired many mass killings, targeting not only the Jewish people, like in Pittsburgh and Poway and synagogues, but also Hispanic people in El Paso, Black people in Buffalo, Muslims in New Zealand and London, our own London, Ontario, and other communities. Versions of this conspiracy theory have become increasingly mainstream, courtesy of influencers, elected officials, candidates, and foreign powers in our social media. They use it to advance their own political goals, and at the same time, they embolden violent extremists.
In the January 6, 2021 attack on the U.S. Congress, when many insurrectionists carried white supremacist symbols in their efforts to overturn the 2020 U.S. election results, they included false claims that undocumented immigrants were stealing the election. Just this past week, we heard in the presidential debate about immigrants eating their neighbors' pets from a man who wants to be president. Recent polling data shows that belief in conspiracy theories is among the highest predictors of anti-Semitism. And a recent U.S. survey found that highly anti-Semitic Americans are significantly more likely to support political violence and other forms of anti-democratic extremism. So, what to do? First of all, we need to fight like hell. We need to call out conspiracy theories against Jews and against any other identifiable group every single time we see it. We also need to educate ourselves about what anti-Semitism means by knowing the IRA, International Holocaust Remembrance Association definition, and all its examples, and call out anti-Semitism and other forms of racism whenever we see it or hear it. We should fight against anti-Semitism, but also against all other forms of racism, including Islamophobia, misogyny, sexual preference bigotry, and other forms of hate and violence. And we should work to advance inclusive, multi-ethnic democracy, the safety and faith of all minorities, and eventually all supporters of democracy are bound together. Jews historically thrive in free democratic states and don't do so well in autocratic ones, even if autocratic rules might seem attractive at first. I know this won't be easy. Many Jews, including me, felt abandoned and isolated by those who remained conspicuously silent, or worse, they've fallen for anti-Israel and anti-Semitic lies. This crisis, since October 7th, exposed the lack of understanding of anti-Semitism in so many parts of society, including how anti-Semitism is present in many conversations related to Israel. Fundamentally, there's a lack of recognition that Jewish safety, including in Israel, is deeply linked to the safety of all communities in all democracies. We need to change that. But while we need to work tirelessly to save ourselves and combat anti-Semitism, we alone cannot stop anti-Semitism. We need to recognize that anti-Semitism is one part, although a big part, of the assault on democracy that affects everyone. If we accept what we need to do, as I've outlined today, it means having open and difficult conversations with others who think they can save democracy without fighting anti-Semitism. We need to show them that they are wrong. Let's start today. Thank you.
Thank you, Bernard. I'd like to call our next speaker. Pastor Kalume is a chairman of Sudanese Canadian Society of BC and pastor of Sudanese Canadian Church of BC. Please, Kalu.
The person who spoke before me, we say you have to compete with music, but I want to tell you to compete with my accent. If you understand, good. If not, you can see me outside so I can try to figure out how I can pass you my information. My name is Kalu, as you guys heard from her. I'm pastor of Sudanese Canadian Church in BC. I'm also the chairman of Sudanese Canadian in BC. First, I want to say my prayer goes for the Jewish community in BC and all over the world. little bit hint, and it's not a joke. We are here for something that is really serious. And if I leave from here, you don't hear from me anytime or anymore, or you know that I'm gone. So you understand that because I came here and I stood with the Jewish community. Let me give a little bit of my background and why did I choose to stand with the Jewish community. I'm Sudanese originally, moved to Canada 20 years ago. I came from the war zone, and I understand what it means to live in the war zone. I came when I was 12 years old, living life of hell in a war zone. Do I want any child or any human being go through the war zone? No. But are we here to call for the peace, or are we here to call for the violence? And I think we are all here to call for the peace. You believe it or not, I was kidnapped one day. And if you've never been in that situation, you don't understand it. Most of you maybe live in this country, you take everything for granted. I will not be surprised if I see Hamas activity in Canada. And we have to be ready and prepared to stop that violence. As I said, my prayer goes for the Jewish community. We are here to say, we are with you, we are praying with you, we are keeping these kidnappers or these people who've been kidnapped in our prayer until they arrive home safely. We want peace, but how? Can we push one side and keep the other side? Can we go kidnap people to bring the peace? Is that how we're going to bring the peace? Absolutely not. We are not going to kidnap people to bring the peace. We have to find a way and accept the deals and seek in a right way and say the truth so we can bring the peace so the both sides can enjoy the peace. I'm going to say something, it might upset some people, but honestly, I'm saying the truth. Face me outside in a way that you want it. I'm challenging you. These days, you can walk on the street, you see the cars saying, Free Palestine. Yes, we want a free Palestine, but how? How are we going to free them? With the violence? No. Let's free Palestine from the Hamas first. And from here, I want to call on Hamas. If you want to face the war, come out from the civilians. Don't hide behind the civilians and take advantage of them. And I'm not only praying for the Jewish community, I'm praying also for the Palestinian community, those who lost all the children because of the violence that Hamas committed to create this violence. We, as Canadians, and the people who are outside here, we need to pass the proper information. We need to give the right information. Now our children who grew here, or our kids who were born here, I'm from Sudan, go to my Sudanese community and see how many that knows the truth, what is happening there. Most of them being manipulated by the wrong information. We have to stand up and be courageous enough to stand and say the truth and give the people the truth, not manipulating them by the false information and saying they're killing the children. Let's free Palestine and hide the truth information. My fellow brothers and sisters in the Jewish community, as a chairman of Sudanese Canadian Society and the pastor of Sudanese Canadian Society, we are standing with you. We are praying for the peace, not only in your land, Sudan also is one of the very weird countries.
Yes.
And why? Because of that hatred from the same group who are not only creating the problem in Palestine and Israel, the same group are creating the same problem to us also in Sudan. Hatred doesn't lead us to anywhere. Love will bring the peace and bring the unity, and everybody will be in a peace place. And I want to end this. Let's stand with the Jewish community. Why did I say that? Today, Sudanese person can go to Israel and walk freely without any hatred.
Yes.
But can a Jew, I saw one of my friends here putting the small hat on the top. Can that person go to Sudan and walk freely? Absolutely not.
No.
In my passport, it says all continents except Israel. Why that hatred? Why do we have to let that hatred? Let's bring peace and bring love in a proper way. Let us love each other and bring peace so we can all have a peace in our community. God bless you.
Thank you, Salud. Thank you for your eldership. It's beautiful words, very touching. We appreciate it so much. Our third speaker, Sarah Berko, is originally from Montreal, but moved here with her wife and 2 cats just over 2 years ago from Yellowknife. Even though she misses real winters and snow, she's putting boots here in Vancouver because she can't imagine living somewhere with no large Jewish community. She is passionate about Jewish education and has worked as a Jewish education teacher at RL and until recently at Or Shalom. Please, Sarah.
All right, so it's my turn to compete against the music, but it seems to have stopped now, so yay. Whew. Hello, everyone. Hi. My name is Sarah Berku, and I am a very tired, very angry, and utterly heartbroken queer Zionist Jew. On September 1st, I celebrated my first year of marriage with my incredible wife, Janelle, and I woke up that morning crying, and I spent that day crying, and I went to sleep that evening crying as well. For those of you who know me, you know that I'm not a crier, and this is not normal behavior for me. I wish I could tell you that it was because I was so overcome with the joy of newly wedded bliss. And while, yes, I of course felt such a deep sense of gratitude for Janelle, truly my rock this past year, the truth is that I was shattered. Because the evening of August 31st, we found out that Carmel, Hirsch, Eden, Ori, Almog, and Alex were murdered, executed by Hamas terrorists. These vile, rapist, murderous kidnappers who committed the unthinkable. Well, I mean, I don't have to tell you. You're all here, you know. The truth is that I hate describing myself as a queer Zionist Jew because obviously I'm a Zionist if I'm Jewish, right? It's a ridiculous and redundant statement. But sadly, as many of you have come to know throughout this past year, there are indeed Jewish anti-Zionists out there, many of whom are part of the queer community. And by the way, if you're looking for answers about this whole queers for Palestine, queers against Israeli apartheid thing, please let me know because I've been looking for answers for almost half my life. When Daphna asked me to speak with you all today, I thought I would share with you how I came to be here on this stage with you instead of within that ridiculous encampment or at the pro-Hamas terrorist rallies. I mean, for starters, I have integrity and a moral compass. So obviously, I would never support a terrorist organization that has raped, murdered, and kidnapped innocent human beings. Obviously, I would never support a terrorist organization that uses its own people as human shields, embeds itself in schools and hospitals, and then builds an underground hellscape of terror tunnels from billions of embezzled funds. Obviously, there is no equivocating both sides. It is obvious to all of us here standing together. But truthfully, there was a very real moment in my life, a fork in the road, if you will, where I might not be here in front of you at this rally, relieved to see these beautiful Israeli, Canadian, American, and true Iranian flags. There is an alternate timeline where I could have been part of the pro-terrorism rallies and marches with Queers for Palestine and uplift myself as a subservient token good Jew. When people who I thought were my friends DM'd me that I'm, quote, a colonizer, genocidal, baby killer, apartheid racist, end quote, strangely enough, it didn't exactly encourage me to want to fix the bridge that they burned. They vomited a string of adjectives in order to try to label me, and by labeling me, they tried to break my resolve. But they could not break my resolve because I know who I am. The truth is, I could have lost my way, and I almost did. When I was a young adult, freshly graduated from my Jewish high school, and bursting right out of the rainbow closet, when I went to McGill University, I went straight to Queer McGill. Look at all these fellow queers and gays and theys, my people. I didn't need to be scared or terrified anymore that I might be outed. At that point, I hadn't yet articulated to myself that I might be gay, but I knew that I was different. So when I did my undergrad, all the Jewish stuff went on the back burner. At home, we more or less celebrated the holidays, not all of them, but some of them. I kind of understood the point of Shabbat, and I had been wearing a Magen David around my neck since I was a child. So I turned to Queer McGill, my people. I joined their executive council and dedicated my free time volunteering for this organization. But despite new friendships and the embrace of a new community that welcomed me, I kept feeling like I had to prove myself. I had this spidey sense that was tingling. But you see, that's what happens when, as a child, I was called a Christ killer by my classmates in grade school. That's what happens when, as a child, a friend of yours tells you that she can't be your friend anymore because her parents hate Jews. That's what happens when, as a teenager, you have strangers on the street that tell you that Hitler should have finished the job when they see your Jewish high school uniform. Like I said, you develop a sixth sense just waiting for that other shoe to drop. But I thought to myself, here, now, in this queer community that cherishes the intersectionality of identities and experiences, here in this community that understands what it means to be a persecuted minority, they would understand, right? But then one day, another member of the Queer McGill Executive Council shows up wearing a keffiyeh and a very strong white savior complex, and pushes to have Queer McGill submit to the deceitful ideologies of BDS. And so many of the people that were my friends just immediately abandoned all their common sense, truth, and integrity. They just jumped on the bandwagon. And I could feel their eyes on me, waiting to see if I was indeed a good Jew. Would I be the good little token Jew that they could use to shield themselves from accusations of anti-Semitism? As a kid, I remember the Say No to Drugs campaign, say no to smoking, don't give in to peer pressure, but let me tell you that there is no peer pressure quite like having to look into the eyes of the people who were once your friends and tell them, no, I will not be your token good Jew. Thank you. I lost a lot of friends, and I lost an entire community. And that's when I began getting called a, quote, colonizer, genocidal, baby killer, apartheid racist, end quote, by people who used to be my friends. What I left out about this story is that this is something that happened to me over a decade ago. That's right, this utter nonsense has existed for a very long time. And now, some 10 plus years later, in a world that is post-October 7, my back is straighter, my voice is level, and my resolve is even firmer. I think about how things could have played out back then, how I could have easily been one of those little good Jews bowing to their peer pressure, watching progressive language be co-opted by those who wanted me dead and encouraging it. I could have been that little good Jew that bowed down to the social pressure to survive so as to not be the target of the vilest anti-Semitism that denies us our peoplehood. but I wasn't, even back then. And you know, I think about it so often. How did I remain firm? How did I maintain that integrity? Where did this courage come from? Not to toot my own horn, but the truth is, I think that my connection and my pride to my Jewish heritage is attributed to a strong sense of self that my parents instilled in me as a child. They prized education, Jewish education, and wanted me to understand who I am and where I come from. Whether it was a formal education like an after-school Jewish education program in day school or informal family time, I remember my dad creating these little lesson plans from scratch for us to learn Hebrew. On top of his demanding profession, he made time to try to teach us our language. And that was the secret. He found a way to make me connect to it. It's not quite like learning French in school for those of you with no French connection. I can understand the confusion that a lot of Anglos outside of Quebec have to learning French. But Hebrew? This was our language. Of course, I wanted to learn it. And I was so incredibly fortunate that my parents sent me to Herzliya High School in Montreal. Though it didn't feel like it at the time. There was a good deal of bullying, and I found myself thinking several times over the course of my time there, well, no wonder people hate us, we're terrible to each other. But I did have this breakthrough moment in high school, when it all made sense that we are Am Echad, that we are Am Israel. We were marching in Montreal's Yom HaAtzmaut rally, and all of us, my student peers included, were part of that celebration. And it dawned on me that even these jerks who made my life hell in high school, they would have my back when push came to shove against the anti-Semitic mob. And there were anti-Semitic mobs back then too. It was a powerful moment, maybe for all of us, because I don't remember much bullying that happened afterwards. We were so grounded in our Jewish identity, and still are. Now, I'm on the younger end of the millennial generation, but I am old enough to remember a childhood without cell phones, to remember high school, where everyone would post cryptic and angsty song lyrics on their Facebook statuses. Today it is different. The peer pressure is different. It is all the time, and it is everywhere. I didn't grow up with Instagram, TikTok, or Snapchat, or whatever other social media apps exist, but these apps are here, and they are 24/7. Make sure that your kids are okay. Talk to them about their Jewish. Celebrate Jewish culture, practice, and traditions together. Learn together. Don't shy away from the hard conversations, because having the hard conversations at home will only help them have the hard conversations with their non-Jewish peers. I wish I could tell you that I led an anti-BDS movement and spoke up for myself and fellow Jews back then. While I did not bow down to them, and I did maintain my resolve, I did not yet have the ability to articulate myself the way that I can today. At the time, I just didn't have to, and so I was stunned, like a deer caught in the headlights. But this experience taught me that this wasn't going to go away. I had to do more learning. I had to learn what it meant to be the one voice of reason amidst a mob of anti-Semites. I had to learn to become deeply uncomfortable in social situations. It seems to me so much worse today than when I was a kid. Social media has just poured oil all over this fiery issue. Our existence is politicized by the left and the right, when whether we are allowed to have self-determination in our ancestral homeland, the dream of any indigenous people, is frankly not up for debate. An issue that should not be political has become violently so. We are a convenient scapegoat for any political party looking for votes, and that's a tale as old as anti-Semitism itself. Now I want to paint a scenario to you. Imagine that tomorrow, these barbaric Hamas terrorists finally surrender our beloved hostages. Even if that happens, all of the propaganda, the hateful stickers, the pro-terror rallies across the country and the world, the bomb threats, the shootings, this ever-rising tide of anti-Semitism is not going away. It is here, and we have to keep going together. So teach your kids to have the hard conversations, because the messaging is out there all the time, always. It is not going away. It is hard and it is scary, but it is important. It is necessary because our kids, your kids, they are the next generation and they need to be ready. We cannot afford to stay silent. It has been almost a year that we have been stuck in this unending nightmare, grieving, heartbroken, and really, really tired. But I've noticed that where we are now is different than where we were in the beginning. This might be hard to hear, but there are schisms. Right versus left, left versus right, pro-Bibi, anti-Bibi, pro-Trudeau, anti-Trudeau, pro-this, anti-that, and so forth. Do not get stuck fighting with each other on social media. It does not help us, and it only helps those who wish us dead. It is useless and ineffective. Direct your energies to something useful instead. Instead, I urge you to really listen with each other. Don't focus on needing to be right. Focus on what you can learn about the other person. Focus on moving forward. All of us here today, I am positive, fall on different places of the political spectrum, and that's okay. It's okay to have different political opinions. That's fine. Because we are here now together, united because we want to bring our hostages home. Bring them home now. We are here united because we are disturbed by the violent acts of Jewish hatred here in Vancouver and across the diaspora. We are here united because we want to show up for our friends and family in Israel. We are united in all these things, and that is what matters. Today is Democracy Day, and next month we have an election. Throughout these last 11 months, we have had speakers from different political parties speak at these rallies too. It hasn't just been one party, it has been multiple different parties. I urge you to speak with each candidate in your riding and learn from them. Listen to what they have to say. Do not make knee-jerk assumptions, because that is how the schism between the extreme left and the extreme right gets wider and wider, and extremism does not bode well for anyone. Learn, question, reflect, and vote. Am Yisrael Chai. Thank you.
Sarah. Thank you so much. Wow, yes. You never know when a person says, I ask for them to speak, you never know what they're going to say. Well, in general, I give a theme. Like you did. And I'm always looking for speakers, so you're welcome to come to me and ask. Our last speaker, Rabbi Stephen Berger, has talked about Vancouver from preschoolers to retirees. He currently is the head of Jewish studies at King David High School. Rabbi.
Thank you, Sarah, for your strength. I'm at most a footnote to what you're saying right now. So, I want to introduce some of you to a little instrument we play this time of the year. It's called a shofar, for those of my brothers and sisters who are Jewish and non-Jewish. And we blow it at many different occasions. It's actually blown not just on Rosh Hashanah, it's blown when you go to war. It's the instrument used when we surrounded Jericho. It's also an instrument of democracy. Is that it's actually blown in something called the Yovel year. The Yovel year was the 50th year where we proclaimed democracy and freedom among the lands. When slaves go free, economics, debts are released, and therefore it's really, it fits very, very well with our idea of democracy today. Rabbi Din Steinsaltz talks about a different idea of democracy, or freedom really. There's a freedom from and a freedom to. And our democracy we really celebrate is really a democracy from. We've democracy from, freedom from tyranny, freedom from oppression, freedom from slavery. But there's a bigger question we focus as Jews is freedom to. A freedom to do what? There's a well-known Jew, his name is Robert Zimmerman. Anyone know Robert Zimmerman? Bob Dylan. Bob Dylan. So he's a little bit old. And during his, he had a time where he was going through a Christian phase, a gospel Christian phase, and he had a song. The song was like, it was like this, everybody's got to serve somebody. I don't know if you know that song. The idea is everybody serves something. And the reality is, unless you may have a freedom from something, but that gives you a freedom to something. And you have to make a decision what that freedom is going to serve. And if it's not, it's self-serving. And that's not good either. And if it's not, it's just you serve the community around you. You serve whatever's around you. And the idea being is that what you saying, Bob Dylan was trying to say, he even made a little pun. He said, your name may be Bobby, or your name may be Jimmy. And he was referring to himself, that he realizes even his own name change, he had to serve the record producers, and he's got to serve somebody else. So it's very important that we, as Jews, we blow the shofar, we think about it as like, what is the question? It's a wake-up call reminding us who it is and what is it that we're serving. Otherwise, it's just a freedom. And freedom itself is nothing. It's ambivalent. When the Jews became free in Egypt, the first thing they did was nothing. They couldn't. They were frozen. The Egyptians were coming upon them at the sea, and God had to save them. They couldn't save themselves. They couldn't muster the energy or the ability to do so. And when things get tough, what did they want to do? They wanted to go back to Egypt. Because that's all they knew, and that's all they had. They had no freedom to it. And we blow the shofar, this Rosh Hashanah, one of the things you should have in mind is, what is it that I want to do? And Sarah laid it out beautifully there, right? It was really a beautiful idea of what it is we should have the freedom to do. I'm not just here freedom to do whatever I want, or just freedom of my body, or freedom from these things. My emotions, I need a purpose. And if you don't pick a purpose, that purpose picks you. We have been forced to make tremendous decisions. Horrible decisions. We as Jews have lived as a nation almost longer than life. And the other thing the shofar represents is a cry. There's a cry when you can't muster a cry, you don't know what you're crying. There's a rabbi named Rabbi Oshri. If you know Rabbi Oshri, his book was actually just released in English. There is a Tehillah, a Psalm of David. And it goes, let's read it actually in times of trouble. It's Shir HaMalot, a song of ascents, a song to raise up. Mema'akim, from the depths, from the hell, from the abyss. We call out, Karita la Hashem. We call out to Adonai. Right? From the depths. And he wrote his book. His book, Rav Oshri, was a book during the Holocaust. He was one of the few Torah giants that was able to survive. He was in the Kovno ghetto and ultimately in the concentration camp. And people used to come to him with all sorts of questions. Questions that you and I would never want to answer, never have to deal with. We want to pack them away and throw them away, so we never have to deal with these things. Questions like, can I commit suicide because I know they're about to kill my whole life and my family? Am I allowed to kill myself first so I don't see myself, I don't see my family die in front of me? Or can I sneak my son out of his barracks, knowing that barracks is going to be liquidated, knowing they're going to take a kid from another barracks, because that's what they do. They got room for 50 and they're going to take 50, can they take my kid out knowing? And he answered these questions the best he could. And he wrote the questions. He didn't have a Beit Midrash, he didn't have books to use. He wrote all these questions down, put them in a can, buried them, and after the war was over, when he miraculously survived, he went and dug them up, and he published them for all to see. There are questions we have to face today. Hostages, winning the war. These are questions that don't have easy answers, and they don't have answers. And all you can do when you see what's going on is just cry. It says in the Gemara in Rosh Hashanah, we blow the shofar 100 kolot, 100 cries. And then it asks, it says, what are these cries based on? And the Gemara says something fantastic. It says it's based on the, listen to this, it's based on the cries of the mother of Sisera. Who was Sisera? Sisera was an enemy of Israel. He went out to butcher and destroy the Jews, put them as slaves, take them as captives. And when his mother realized that the Jews had winning and the Jews had defeated Sisera, his wife, his mother, was beginning to come to that realization, he started sobbing and crying. In the book of Judges, it talks about this slow realization that her son, the barbaric son, the one that was the enemy of the Jews, was not coming home. And we base our cries of our shofar on that mother's cry. Because there is no cry like a mother's cry losing a child, as we all witnessed in the last couple of weeks. We saw it and heard it, and you can't express it. And this Rosh Hashanah, when you hear the shofar, it should try and be realized that God is listening to your cries. There are no words. There are no words. I was watching, I'll finish with this, the Olympics a few years ago. And the Winter Olympics. And there was a guy, I can't remember his name for the life of me. He was playing, he was favored to win. I know he was a skier, whatever it was. And his brother, who was a best friend of him, passed away. He died recently from cancer, like just before the Olympics. And he ended up still fighting the Olympics. And he won. He won the Olympics. And as he's being interviewed at the end, the announcer says, with your brother recently deceased, can you describe to me the feeling you're feeling? And on the TV, all you saw was him break down and cry. And he's sobbing. And he's crying. And the announcer's getting uncomfortable. And the announcer says, but can you tell me what you're feeling? Can you put it into words? And anybody who was watching this said, dude, shut up. Shut up. There are no words. There are no words to express it. These are the words, the call of the shofar, the call of the cry. That is how that is the thing that expresses it. And in Rosh Hashanah, we need to let the shofar speak. So in fact, I'll blow the shofar and maybe we can let that begin in Elul to speak.
Okay, listen.
Okay, I'll ask you here at the side so it's not going to be clogged up. Okay, I'll put it, you can just put it on your shirt or just hold it, it's fine. Yeah, what's your full name?
My name is
You can talk to me, it's fine, it's gonna... In Canada.
Amy? Amy?
And why did you come here today?
Because you enemy, my enemy said they will tell you. This is for
Kurdish from which area? Do you live in Vancouver right now? Thank you very much. Yeah, it's interesting. Do you have
I want to.
or if you come here Sunday,
Okay, Sunday.
we'll see if we can help you get anything. If I did.
No, I try to give you a help, maybe here, maybe bachelor, your house,
Yeah.
you know, because the same committee together, go church together, go, you want to help maybe working too,
Yes.
you know. I'm not in any job because I'm trying to get working contraction.
So you don't want to work anymore? You
No,
work
I don't want
or you
I want something, you know, maybe help me, so
Yeah, I'm gonna have
painting, I will do some other year.
I have a friend that has a restaurant shop in Canada. I can ask him. He does construction. I will ask him. I'll see you soon.
What your name?
Liemor.
Liemor. Oh, nice name. Son Liemor, because I'm very You look in the internet to Calgary. I know a lot of Calgary, everybody. Hebrew, everybody knows you.
Okay, I'll find out. I'll tell you if I thanks.
Ya'aseh shalom, Ya'aseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Ya'aseh shalom, Ya'aseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Ya'aseh shalom, Ya'aseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol We have to thank this country that we live in because they've invited my parents to be here. And it made a very beautiful life for many of the Jewish people who have come and made their home in Canada. I love Canada. Canada's a beautiful place. Oh, Canada. In all our sons command, with glowing hearts we see thee rise, the true Lord's dawn and free. From far and wide, O Canada, we stand on guard for thee. God, keep us glorious and free. O Canada, we stand on guard for thee. Oh, Canada, we stand on guard for thee. Okay, one more thing. them. Yeah, that's nice. This is probably going to be the last double event that I'm going to be at for a while. But I just want to thank you for all the work that you've been doing and all the people who've been supporting here. To be here week after week for a year. We're still here, we're still supporting because we believe in what we're doing. We have a right to exist in peace with everyone.
Two big announcements. I didn't think I'll be here, but I'm going to 1 year anniversary. So like they say, it takes a whole village to make something happen. There's two events that I'm organizing. One of them is that Sunday is the 6th of October. We'll be here on the 6th of October at 6 p.m. The idea is to have, this is a joint international idea to have lanterns all over the world and call it Illuminate October. I've sent emails to schools and synagogues asking if they would do, hoping to do over 100 in workshops. I would like to start a group committee to be involved in this, so please reach out to me afterwards. This would also be with a exhibition from a very known Israeli artist. His name is Shoshke. So it will all be together at the gallery, singing and sing-along. And one more thing, we're starting from the 5th to the 10th, actually, as someone put it, collective expression of the 7th of October of local artists. If you still want to be involved, this is something that came up a couple of months ago and I was overwhelmed it never happened, but this is such a significant date. We don't want to pass this one. So it's actually happening. We do have a few artists, and these auction, I would say, these donations will go to the family forum or any other organization you choose to. This is not yet closed. So if you want to, in any of these two events, which are both parallel, want to help and reach out either with donation or with artwork or with creative, just do it at home or with a group of people. There's a Zoom meeting actually tomorrow evening with the Australian, the one who has initiated this. If you want to join, I'll also put it up in the WhatsApp group. I appreciate you. Thank you. I could not just be here on my own without you. Hopefully you won't be here next Sunday, but you probably will. So be here again at 2 p.m. Again, it's never the same place. Today was extremely busy. Hopefully we'll be at the front. They're all already speakers, and have a great week. So wonderful.
תודה למי שהשתתף, אנחנו נסיים את הלייב כאן, תודה רבה.